The title of the video in itself suggests that Battlefield 5 needs to be fixed, and when I say fixed, I don't mean fixed in the sense of patching bugs and glitches, because although we recognize that these glitches are going to exist no matter what, and we partially accept them, they are still issues that you know DICE is going to address sooner or later. No, I'm talking about fixed in the sense of trying to correct or modify some of the glaring gameplay issues and personal gripes that I have with the game currently, so that DICE can make the game that we as Battlefield fans deserve. Now, I'm sure there's going to be a demographic of those viewers that are going to be like, Catalyst, stop complaining and just enjoy the game for what it is, or Catalyst, the game doesn't need to be fixed, your complaints are invalid. Well, to those people, I would say I think it's in my right as a gamer, especially a gamer of a franchise I've been playing faithfully since I was 15, to bring up things that I think are impeding the success of the game. Things that don't fall along the lines of, don't like it, don't buy it, or you're too uneducated to understand. And I would also say that I'm very self-aware that I care way too much about this game, because when you play something competitively, you not only notice and pick up on gameplay mechanics and overall just have a deeper understanding of the game and how things work, but you also become much more invested in the overall success of the game and your success as a player. In other words, I'm a sweaty tryhard and I fully accept it. The love of competition is directly correlated with one's investment in whatever they are competing in. You can't be competitive and not care. It's not really possible. But with that big disclaimer blanket out of the way, this is going to be a longer video, ladies and gentlemen, so get a snack, get a drink, get something, sit back and relax. Here is how I would fix Battlefield 5. The first thing I would do as DICE is I would issue a roadmap for fixes for the game and a statement to the public. Part of the process in resolving a mistake is the acceptance that you've made one in the first place, and it's kind of along the same lines of the first step to solving a problem is admitting that there is one. To be honest, that would apply to the situation as well. It's not as uncommon as it used to be for developers to do this. You saw Ubisoft do this with Rainbow Six Siege, where they released a list of known bugs and a timeline for their fixes. Now, I'm not so much concerned with this because at 3 months post-launch, a lot of the bad glitches have been put to bed. The footsteps have been greatly improved, the netcode does appear to be smoother and on the up and up, and the company coin issue has finally been resolved. There is a bad frames per second issue on console right now. I'm not sure whether it's on Xbox, but it's definitely on PlayStation 4, and hopefully that gets resolved quickly. But other than that, a lot of the bad game-breaking bugs have been solved. But as I said earlier, I'm not so much interested in the list of bugs specifically. What I'm more interested in is an apology to the community, because quite frankly, we deserve one. I understand that EA is a conglomerate of morons, and they are scummy beyond scummy, but this is the first time where I feel like I can't trust a single word that comes out of DICE's mouth. There needs to be something that at least metaphorically extends their hand to the community's hand for a handshake. Battlefield 5 may be about World War II, but the real war has been the community versus DICE, and DICE needs to own up to everything and clear the air. Talk about the marketing failures of the game, talk about the buggy launch of the game, and offer up an apology to the community, and let them decide whether or not to accept that apology. And most likely, a lot of players are not going to react positively to the apology, but right now, I think what the community mostly wants to see is that you, as a developer, still care. To be honest, out of everything that I'm going to talk about in this video, this is a suggestion that I think is the most unlikely to be carried out. I think it would be monumental for DICE to do this. I think it would be the right thing to do. It would certainly be the big boy thing to do, but DICE thus far has proven to be extremely unapologetic for the way the game has been marketed and the way the game has been released. So for me, this is mostly wishful thinking. So diving into the actual game itself, what needs to be fixed first? Well, if there is any indication as to what my first fix would be based on my content over the past month, I think there is a horrible bipodding problem in this game, and it needs to be fixed immediately. And no, I'm not talking about making sure that bipod works properly. That should have been done at launch. This is about a serious problem with game balancing. For those of you who have heard the speech from me before, I'm sorry. This is for the new people that may stumble across this video. But In the current state of the game, I think bipoding is not only too easy, but it is too powerful as well. Usually when a new game comes out, it takes about 3 months give or take to fully develop an idea of what the meta of a game is going to be, and now that we're about 3 months into Battlefield 5, the community has apparently decided that the meta of the game is going to be lying in corners with bipoded machine guns, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see how much I disagree with this development, and it doesn't take a lot to understand why bipods have taken over the meta of the game for casual players. Now, I think it's important to note that my meta and a casual player's meta are going to be two different ideas, but that's why you come to my channel and seek my opinion. It's because I have an in-depth and more advanced way of viewing the game and how to play it, but I digress. The support class is quickly growing to be one of the most popular classes in the game, and it doesn't take much to see why. The bipod is just that strong. You don't have to control recoil, and you kill people in milliseconds. So as a player, who wouldn't want that? It creates a trickle-down effect of subsequent bipoding. It's the idea of, I get killed by bipods all the time, I might as well do it too. In other words, if you can't beat them, bipod with them, and more often than not, it results in players lying on their bellies or backs for large portions of the matches, waiting for your happy-go-lucky squad to pass by, and then that begins to blur the lines between outsmarting your opponent with positioning and camping there because you know how powerful bipoding is. So, what to do? Well, I have two things. The first of which being the ability to bipod on your back needs to be eliminated. This change has been teased to be coming. It might already be in the game at this point. I'm not sure. I haven't tested it because I don't use the bipod, but that would be step one. Step two would be to remove bipods from all support class weapons by default, except for MMGs, and make the bipod a specialization that players can choose in their skill tree. Right now, I feel like a lot of support players are having their cake and eating it too when it comes to the weapons in the support class and the bipods on those weapons. It's extremely strong in of itself, and then you have a weapon like the KE7 that is very controllable to begin with. I think that there should be an overall nerf to the accuracy of light machine guns and increase the effectiveness of specializations like the recoil buffer. And you might say, well, Catalyst, wouldn't that just entice more people to use the bipod if the recoil is nerfed? Not if they have to choose to use it. Is the bipod worth that much to you that you forego the controllable recoil that most of these support weapons have to begin with? I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't do it. It would become a gameplay choice on how you want to control your recoil, rather than have the default answer be, let me just use the bipod, it's easier that way. DICE has implanted the bipod as a specialization for sniper rifles, and in my opinion it should be that way for the support weapons too, because right now it seems like there is no variety in support gameplay. The choices are either bipod or bipod, and that needs to change. It will make the support class more engaging to play, and it will give bipods something to think about now that they have a huge penalty for choosing the skill tree that has the bipod in it. After fixing bipods, I would like to see rental servers be introduced to Battlefield 5. Now, most of you know how I feel about rental servers. It's actually the thing that I want in the game most right now for what I think would be some pretty obvious reasons. As a competitive player, I and thousands of players alike need these servers in order to organize and play in competitive matches, and for many players, including myself, the hope of rental servers has been one of the very few things that has kept me playing Battlefield 5 consistently. And without them, I don't think that Battlefield 5 is in a good enough place to keep my interest at the moment, and I'm not the only person who feels that way. Many players are already moving on, and that's not good for the competitive scene, and it's not good for the overall player base. Servers are something that I would like immediately, but I understand that it won't come at the snap of my fingers. I'm not Thanos, and as long as we are promised the date of release that isn't unreasonable, these rental servers should bring some creative flair and life to the game, and as I've already expressed in another video, I would be truly disappointed if they don't end up coming. Past that though, there needs to be an update of sorts for some small things that I felt should have been included at launch but weren't. These things include emblems for platoons. I'm not sure how this wasn't just an easy carryover from Battlefield 1, but I could say that about both of these things to tell you the truth, but emblems for platoons, map voting instead of the standard rotation, and a switch team option so that you don't have to wait for a spot to open up on the team that your friends are playing on, and you can just get in on the other team and then switch. I know that there is already something like that in the game now, which if you join on the session of your friend without you being in their squad, you can do that, which is a welcome addition, but it's not always consistent in putting you on the right team, and I know that some people are going to abuse the switch team mechanic to manipulate their win percentages and whatnot, but as long as you keep it balanced, I think people should be allowed to do that if it helps them sleep at night. As far as game modes are concerned, I think that both Grand Operations and Breakthrough need serious reworks. Operations was obviously a hit in Battlefield 1, and to be brutally honest, DICE really mucked it up with Grand Operations in Battlefield 5. It's just not fun, and I went from somebody that played Operations every day in Battlefield 1 to somebody that has not touched Operations in Battlefield 5 more than twice, and the second time was because I had to in order to complete some Tides of War challenges. The biggest issue with Grand Operations is that there is a severe lack of consequences for bad performance, and likewise, defenders don't get rewarded at all for successfully holding out on days 1 and 2. And overall, that's part of the big issue. It feels like no matter what you do or how your team performs, you have no control on how the match is actually going to play out. As a defender, I can completely destroy the enemy team and still have to play the third day, even though in my mind, if the margin of victory was that large, there shouldn't need to be a day 3, the game should be over. But I think DICE was so focused on replicating and telling the story of how these battles actually went down that they kind of overlooked this gameplay discrepancy, and they never realized how little sense it all makes. Part of the charm of Operations in Battlefield 1 was that the player felt like they were almost rewriting history with their performance. If the team that didn't historically come out victorious was kicking the opposing faction's butt in the game simulation, the game went with it and actually gave you an alternative historical situation based on the outcome of the match, which was really cool, and I'm dumbfounded why DICE hasn't carried that over into Battlefield 5. There needs to be greater consequence in the actions of the teams that can be done with a 3-day system, but DICE needs to be willing to accept that some matches aren't going to make it through all 3 days. Taking the Rotterdam operation, for example, if the attacking side were to destroy all the gun emplacements on the first day, the match should automatically be sent into the second day's activities right then and there, which in most cases is Breakthrough. The reward for destroying all the bomb emplacements is now that the attacking team doesn't have to wait another day and only has 1 sector to capture, instead of 2 if they didn't get all the bomb emplacements. Now, historically there might have been a break in the fighting, but thematically it makes sense to continue the action right then and there. If the attacking side destroys all the emplacements and captures the sector on Rotterdam in the same attack, that should end day 1, and devastation will now be day 2 on the Frontlines game mode as it is now. It's day 2 because the attacking team has proven to be that much stronger. What this should do is not only offer some variety in outcome to the gameplay, but it will also end matches quicker if one team is clearly stronger than the other. Now on the same example, but on the defensive side, let's say that the defending team prevents the attacking team from destroying any of the bomb emplacements. You will still roll over to day 2, but if they are able to hold all the sectors on the map, then that should be the end of the operation right then and there. The better team has won, there's no need to continue the match. With these changes, I think it would greatly spice up the operations with multiple types of outcomes instead of the standard day 3 winner takes all system that the game employs right now. On the other end of the spectrum, Breakthrough. What was formerly Operations needs a serious tweak to the balancing on every map. I would like to see it return to the multiple battalion system as well as it was in Battlefield 5, but to keep things a bit shorter and concise, the attacking side only gets 2 battalions of soldiers. But to be honest with you, I can live with only having 1 attack and 1 battalion if there are some serious balancing changes, because right now the defending side has a ginormous advantage over the attacking side. Unless the defending side is significantly and noticeably worse than the attacking side, the defending side will win the match, I guess about 80% of the time. Only DICE truly has the data on that. Breakthrough on Hamada is without a doubt, in my 8 years of playing Battlefield, the worst experience I have ever had playing a Battlefield game. I would say that I've played Breakthrough on Hamada about 7 or 8 times, and every single time has been absolutely horrible, and part of the reasoning for that is because the defenders are given such an advantage, vertically with the map design, and then just how the game mode is designed. And it does apply to every map, but it's worst on Hamada. With how the game is designed with a quicker TTK and the fortification system, all the defenders realistically have to do is repeatedly build fortifications around the objective points and line up with bipods and DMRs, and the attacking side doesn't really stand a chance unless they are a far more skillful and formidable side than the defending side is. So I don't think that increasing the number of attackers is going to change much. I think changes need to be made in terms of the capture area radius and the player count itself. On another note, I would also like to see Squad Conquest become a full-time game mode and have it be developed for all maps. I think it's a very nice competitive game mode that really brings out a lot of Battlefield 5's better qualities. And finally, to wrap up things in this video, just a short list of things that I would change or tweak. First of which being, I think that you should only be allowed one AP mine, even with grabbing extra from an ammo crate. What's been happening is snipers and support players will continue to replenish those AP mines and spam the objective with those mines. It may be strategic and may be true to history that it happened, but it doesn't exactly translate to fun. Also, people are placing AP mines on health crates and ammo boxes. That's not only really cheap, but it takes advantage and exploits the game's most central mechanic, and I think that only having one AP mine can fix a lot of that. Next, I would like to see the frag rifle nerfed. I think it's a bit too strong, and it does a little bit too much damage in my opinion. Along the same lines, the KE7 is still way too easy to use, and it needs another buff to its recoil. There appears to be issues with the idle timer. I have been in matches where multiple teammates have not spawned in and continue to not spawn in for multiple rounds, and their idle timer is not kicking them. This is especially frustrating when my team is trying to scrim 8v8 Squad Conquest and the other team is fully loaded in, and one last teammate of mine can't get in because a random currently holds the spot, and he is not only idle, but he is not being kicked for being idle. So it's very annoying, and I hope it gets fixed soon. Finally, I would like to see the natural occurrences such as fire and debris that deplete your bleed out timer. I would rather have them not affect the bleed out timer, and this is more so applying towards the incendiary grenade, because what's been happening to me is players have been throwing the incendiary grenades on top of your body to thirst kills and prevent a revive, and not only is that extremely cheap, but I think it's incredibly annoying to play against, especially if you're trying to complete a challenge that involves you getting a certain amount of kills in one life. How would you like to be on the last kill of a 10 kill hipfire challenge for one of the submachine guns, and you need to get a hipfire kill on the objective, and you get shot from behind, and that player throws an incendiary grenade on your body, and now you have to start the challenge all over again? That'd be pretty frustrating to me. I can foresee it happening, and I think that not having that stuff affect the bleed out timer will greatly improve the game. And that's pretty much everything in this video, ladies and gentlemen. I know it was a bit of a longer one. If you did enjoy it, if you agreed with me, make sure that you drop a like on the video. Also, leave a comment down below on the video. Tell me what you would like to fix in Battlefield 5. Did I miss something? Please let me know. Thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe if you're new. My name is Nick, or Catalyst, and I will see you all another time.